On the outside, One Piece is a relatively family-friendly show. However, there are some points in the anime that were actually incredibly dark. So, from the huge cover-up following the defeat of Gecko Moria to actual, just straight-up racism, these are the 21 darkest facts about One Piece. And let's start, of course, with Gecko Moria, who was a formidable enemy for our Straw Hat Pirates with the ability to bring people back from the dead. And that's why this secret is quite as dark as it is. Upon Gecko Moria's defeat, the world government decided to prevent what happened to Crocodile from happening to Moria. And so, the world government decided to use his defeat as a huge cover-up, with him being cut after Marineford as a result of his weakness. But that is nothing compared to our next darkest One Piece fact. Now, this dude really needs no introduction. Not only is he one of the most well-known and feared pirates across all of One Piece, but he was also the adversary in one of the best anime arcs ever. However, Doflamingo was hiding a big secret all about the celestial dragons and a secret treasure held deep within Pangaea Castle. Let me explain. So, Don Quixote Doflamingo is able to do practically whatever he wants throughout the entirety of the Dressrosa arc, with no marines or opposing pirates threatening him at all. But why was this the case? Well, it was probably because he knew the secret we mentioned earlier. This secret meant that Doflamingo was able to blackmail the government, leading him to being able to produce smile fruits and, of course, take over the kingdom of Dressrosa. Taking control and defying the world government is one thing. One major thing, but it's one thing. However, one secret that no one ever really talks about is Shanks and his weird relationship with said world government. The Gorosei rarely revealed themselves to anyone, much less pirates, which makes the time Shanks met the Gorosei all the stranger. But knowing them is not a dark secret, so why am I telling you this? Well, the speculation comes in when some fans believed this meant Shanks had a secret that he was hiding. He was a celestial dragon. This secret really divided the fan base, with some people agreeing with it and some not. Those denying it instead claiming that he has a secret twin brother. But the reason for this could just be an animation error, as he doesn't really have his face scar during that whole meeting, which seems like such a small detail that even Oda has stated he simply forgot. Okay, that was a lot. Let's talk about something a bit friendlier. Nah, I'm just kidding. Let's instead talk about one of the darkest moments in the entirety of the show, Bellemere's death. Bellemere's death is a truly traumatic experience. In the correct dub of One Piece, Bellemere is brutally shot in the chest by Arlong to make an example of her defiance. However, in the 4Kids adaptation of the show, Bellemere is locked up for life, with her presumably dying in prison after years and years of suffering. I'll let you guys decide which is the darker ending for her. But there is one more little bonus dark fact here. In the anime, Bellemere's execution is pretty fast and presumably painless as she gets shot in the chest. But in the manga, this is far darker, with Bellemere being shot in the head by Arlong. Once again, let me know what you guys think is worse. Or don't, because it's pretty gruesome either way. Of course, without the death of Bellemere, Nami would have never met the Straw Hats and began their joint ventures. Whether that be Luffy and his goal to become king of the pirates, Usopp and his desire to get a huge bounty, Zoro and his wish to become a master swordsman, and so on. So imagine my surprise when I discovered that there was an official One Piece universe where none of this happens. Oda designed and made a future where the Straw Hats failed to achieve their dreams. Luffy never became king of the pirates and Nami became an addict. Truly a dark universe. These pictures can still be found online, drawn by Oda himself. Seriously, why would you make this? The Straw Hats never deserve that fate. They're also friendly and good-hearted. Or are they? There is a very dark quote from someone within the world of One Piece, which reads as follows. Luffy does not kill his enemies, because he would rather destroy their chances of achieving their dreams, which is far more painful than simply taking their life. Yeah, so not only is that a pretty messed up thing to say and do, but if you think about some of Luffy's former villains, this becomes all the more dark. Think back to people like Don Krieg and his ambition to conquer the Grand Line. Thanks to Luffy, he now has no chance to ever achieve that. Truly dark stuff. Though Don Krieg's ambitions were far less dangerous when compared to Big Mom's. Big Mom was the captain of the Big Mom Pirates and was formerly one of the 4 emperors of the sea. So, during Big Mom's backstory, we learned that her adoptive mother took her and other orphans in, but was potentially eaten alive. For you see, Big Mom once destroyed Elbath Village at just 5 years old as a result of hunger, followed by being starved for 7 days. We find out shortly after this that Mother Caramel was not a very
very good mother, with her trafficking children to the world government and all that, and turning them into soldiers and being a devil fruit user with the Soda Soda no Mi, Big Mom's current devil fruit. This alone is incredibly insane, but I'm not even done. Everyone decided to throw a birthday party for Big Mom, complete with a cake, because of course. Big Mom ate and ate away, and then suddenly the entire scene had changed. Big Mom had been abandoned. No one was to be found. Everyone was gone, but then the camera cuts to Mother Caramel's clothes ripped off, essentially insinuating that Big Mom ate her, which is how she got the devil fruit in the first place. So cannibalism is definitely a touchy subject around the globe, and that is why this was kind of a subtle hint as opposed to literally just showing her eating her entire family. However, the One Piece showrunners did not even see this dark fact coming. There are countless iconic villains throughout One Piece, of course, but one of my favorites has to be definitely Blackbeard, and I'm certainly not alone in that. I cannot think of a more imposing villain in One Piece. Maybe Kaido? However, I didn't even realize his earthquake fruit powers were so powerful, they could cause real-life earthquakes. When the One Piece anime was first airing in Japan, there was a scene in which Blackbeard steals and uses the earthquake fruit from Whitebeard. A mere few days after this episode aired, Japan was hit with a magnitude 9 earthquake. This obviously is not an in-universe fact, but you gotta admit, it's still a pretty dark coincidence. And we'll get back to the anime soon enough, but I got one more dark fact for you here that involves the real world in One Piece. See, One Piece balances humor and adventure without delving into the dark, violent side of pirate lore. But real-world piracy remains a significant threat, particularly in the South China Sea and off the coast of Somalia, making these waters some of the most dangerous globally. Interestingly, a video surfaced showing a real pirate ship displaying the Jolly Roger flag of Shanks' crew from One Piece, suggesting that even real-world pirates are fans of the series. And I highly doubt Oda messes with real-life pirates. Moving on, one of the standout aspects of One Piece is the talented voice actors who bring its characters to life. Over nearly 30 years, these VAs have become iconic. But the series has also had to say goodbye to some legendary voices. In the Japanese version, this includes Takeshi Aono as Mihawk, Chikao Otsuka as Gold Roger, and Ginzo Matsuo as Smoker. In the English dub, notable losses include Cole Brown as Blackbeard, Jerry Russell as Crocus, and Ed Blaylock as Sengoku. Their contributions were vital to the show's success, and fans honor their memories as the series continues. May they rest in peace. Okay, that was a bit sad. Let's move on to something a little more lighthearted, please. Have you ever wondered how One Piece's manga was created? Shonen Jump manga typically follow a structured production process where mangakas create and design characters and stories, which are then reviewed by editors for approval. Editors hold significant influence, as seen in the case of Dragon Ball Z's Cell Saga, which was altered due to an editor's dislike of certain character designs. In the context of One Piece, creator Ichiro Oda is known for his intense work ethic and dedication, expecting his editors to match his commitment. Oda's famous statement that his editors must be willing to die for One Piece highlights the seriousness with which he approaches the series and the high standards he sets for his team. Alrighty, that wraps up the real life lore for now. Let's instead head back to the anime and talk about one of the most well-known speeches in all of One Piece. Gold Rogers, or Goldie Rogers, depends on the translations, final speech in One Piece is iconic, but did you know it is actually based on real-life pirate Olivier Levasseur? Levasseur was a real-life pirate in the late 1600s who, during his final speech, delivered a similar cryptic story about a mysterious treasure. Levasseur's final speech was entirely true, with his being credited with having a lot of treasure, leading to his nickname, the Mouth. People were able to discover a long-lost necklace of his containing a cryptogram, which even to this day is still being deciphered. Unfortunately for both Levasseur and Goldie Roger, they met their untimely demise at the hands of the police/enforcement agencies. But I would take death over what Zeff went through any day of the week. Sanji's backstory is iconic. Sanji and Zeff were in a terrible boat accident that led to Sanji being stuck under the water, slowly drowning. Zeff knew he had to save Sanji, and so he cut his own leg off to save the dude. After him and Zeff washed up on an island, he was given a small bag of food to split with Zeff. Sanji decides to ditch Zeff and fend for himself while living off the scraps of food he had. After starving himself, he decides to return to Zeff to ask for more food. When Sanji discovers Zeff never had any food,
and had been living off of nothing, in the anime at least. Zeff slowly starves himself to death in the anime in order to protect Sanji. However, in the manga, Zeff instead cut his leg off and ate that. If he had not done this, Zeff would have died, but still, like, that is dark, dude. Starving to death is only one of many ways that people within the world of One Piece have died. However, there was one certain character that Oda wanted to ensure got the worst death possible. Whitebeard is an incredibly formidable character in One Piece, known as the strongest man in battle. He had survived multiple attacks, including being stabbed, shot, assaulted by various foes. Ultimately, it took the entire combined effort of the Blackbeard pirates to bring him down. In the anime, Whitebeard battles a Kainu who burns off half of his mustache with his magma powers, but in the manga, oh boy! Yeah, no, we get a far darker scene where a Kainu melts off half of Whitebeard's face. And despite these severe injuries that would kill literally anyone else, Whitebeard continued to fight, being defeated by Blackbeard and his crew. Whitebeard was a force quite like no other, and of course the anime was still able to show this off, albeit slightly censored. And censoring is a pretty common thing for the One Piece anime. I mean, we got a whole video about it. The rising sun is very common within Japan, with it even being the focal point of its flag, intended to showcase the sun rising off the coast of Japan. It has become one of the most serene and well-known flags in the world. However, there is one country that does not see it that way. In South Korea, the flag is seen as offensive as a result of a Japanese genocide within South Korea after they annexed it in the early 20th century. Why am I telling you this? Well, there was a One Piece exhibit planned for South Korea that was canceled suddenly 3 days before it was due to begin. This was a result of countless complaints that the manga used the Japanese flag very frequently, with it appearing predominantly in Wano, which is heavily based off of feudal Japan. The convention was canceled and never saw the light of day. After that, One Piece had to ensure that the manga going forward also became ever so slightly censored to avoid things like this. And unfortunately, this was not the last time One Piece got censored. See, I don't know if you know this or not, but Shonen Jump is kind of a Japanese brand. And Japanese brands tend to differ greatly from Western traditions and beliefs. And one of the most notable of these comes from the Japanese symbol, the manji. In Japan, everyone knows it as the manji. It's meant to be harmless, but in the West, we know it for a much darker reason. As such, editors at Shonen Jump had to force Oda to censor a large chunk of One Piece. This was due to Ace's back tattoo being that of a manji. This censorship was immensely difficult, as Oda had to retcon a huge chunk of the story to fit this in, such as Whitebeard symbol on his back as well, looking like a reversed swastika. All of these were changed to a cross, which was adopted across all of One Piece to avoid media controversy as the series began to become increasingly popular in the West. It was tough for Oda to do this, but thankfully he's one of the most resilient and hardworking people at Shonen Jump, if not the most, so that doesn't mean that it can't be too much for even Oda sometimes, though. Like, producing a weekly manga at Shonen Jump is an incredibly demanding job, requiring writers to complete the story, art, speeches, designs within a very tight deadline. This intense schedule has made it one of the most unhealthy jobs for creators, even for Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece. Hey, he's faced these challenges working 7 days a week, only 3 hours of sleep per night, for decades! And despite all of his success, Oda has still continued to personally draw most of the manga. Recently, though, he started to delegate more responsibilities, which is overall healthier for him and allows him to spend more time with his family. And it's that sense of community that led Oda to creating One Piece as a whole, as a media, to celebrate diversity and include people of different races, religions, and much more. And while this large myriad of races is great for the show, it has also created some problems for them. One Piece tries to keep real-world issues out of the show, but there's some reoccurring themes throughout the show, all around slavery. In particular, the fishmen who are regularly kidnapped, imprisoned, tortured, and sold into slavery. This is one of the darkest themes in all of One Piece. And while this is incredibly dark and incredibly messed up, it never gets gory, surprisingly. Actually, this is one thing that's kind of in common with the anime and the manga. They both never really get gory. But But the anime is way different in one scene, particularly showing this. During Little Garden, Zoro cuts off half of his legs before Luffy comes and saves them. This is Zoro's way of saying that he would cut off his legs and be a legless swordsman or die with an amazing pose. We started this video with Gecko Moria, and it seems only fitting that we end it with Gecko Moria. The Thriller Bark pirates led by Moria are a terrifying group, especially with Moria's loyal subordinate, Hogback. Hogback, a skilled surgeon, was deeply obsessed with a woman named Victoria Sindri, who rejected his marriage proposal because she was already married. Heartbroken, Hogback later joined Moria and used Moria's powers to resurrect Sindri as a zombie after her death. Disturbingly, Hogback altered Sindri's personality to make her more submissive, making this one of the most darkest and most unsettling facts in all of One Piece. So if you don't want to get turned into a zombie, watch this video right here. Thank you for watching.